we mostly record classical music. Some people could think, but what do you need? Why do you need something like a Hear Back system? The most of the times, the classical musicians are just playing without hearing anything else, and so why? In this studio, we started some projects of classical music, but that are trying to put classical music in a more modern way. That there in the US, it's not something strange, but here in Italy, as musicians, classical musicians have a thought that classical music is just for the theater, just for the shows. They hate amplification, they hate recordings. All the technologies, something they don't like, they don't want. Because, of course, we're in Italy, we have a lot of tradition about classical music. Sometimes tradition can really fight against the progression of engineering, of recordings, and things like that. They recorded classical music in an old way. Like 10 years ago, I met this person who recorded classical music just in stereo, 8-channel mixer, and he mixed it live. And he recorded just the output of the output of the mixer. So it cannot do any correction, any editing, nothing. 2 years ago, here we started a lot of projects about bringing classical music to the next level in 5.1 in surround. That, yes, of course, it's not really strange, but for classical music here in Italy, for the market of classical music in Italy, recording in surround classical music, it's something really strange. We didn't want to do it in a standard way. So, okay, in the front we have the most of the music, and in the back we just have some reverb. No. We wanted the person to be inside of the music. My city here in Brescia, in 1974, there was a terrorist attack in which 8 people died. And at the funeral, the local wind band played this piece of Vivaldi. It is the Stabat Mater of Vivaldi. The last year was the 50th anniversary. City government asked us to do something about this attack. And what we did was recording this Stabat Mater in the original version, so orchestra of strings and choir and solo children. But we wanted the people to be inside of the place where this happened. So we projected the images of the original images of 1974 inside the theater with the audio in 5.1 inside the theater. So the people could be inside of these days in 1974. The way of mixing was strange because it was the person was inside of the orchestra. So you have some violins in the front left, the cellos in the front right, but the choir was all around the person, and the solo children was exactly in the front of the listener. We wanted to bring classical music in a different way. Of course, to do this, we need some technical gear, some gear that is not made for classical music. So let's make a lot of editing, a lot of mixing, a lot of microphones. Of course, everything should be exactly in time with the video. So we have to record classical music with a metronome, which for classical musicians is really, really strange, of course, because they never play with a metronome. But they had to. We have the Hear Back OCTO with 16 personal mixer. It was one personal mixer every 2 musicians. So all the musicians could hear the click and play in the right time, of course. This was the first big project we did. And the second one, it was really more difficult and more on the limit. We wanted to bring the technology at the limit for classical music. A piece of Bach, which is made of 4 pianos and orchestra, but to record it like usually is done with rock music, so 1 musician at a time, all with the click. So there were not 4 pianists and 4 pianos, there was just one pianist with one piano. Then we recorded singularly each section of the orchestra: violin first, violin second, violas, cellos, and basses. The flex time engine of Pro Tools is not made for classical music. And so it has a lot of artifacts. And so putting everything in time, in perfect time, because of course you need everything to be perfect, was really, really, really difficult and pushed us to the limit of Pro Tools, of technology. Of course, in this case, the Hear Back system was fundamental because everyone needs to hear what the others did, fix the volumes. It was really important for us to have the Hear Back OCTO. We are doing a third one. We took a recording from 1962, made in mono with a very bad recorder, and digitalized in 2001, 2002 in a very bad way. 414 piano concert of Mozart. And so what we wanted to do is to redo everything, but keeping the intention and the original mood of the piano player. We have taken the piano track, so they are transforming this audio into a file in which this piano that plays alone can replicate exactly the expression of the old recording and all the notes, all the legatos, all the sustain, everything about the older recordings, with the final aim to do a live concert in which the orchestra is live with a click in the ears, the click and the piano, of course, in the ears, and the piano plays itself alone. It's like this famous dead pianist is still alive playing the piano. Wanted two things. First of all, that classical musicians could understand that technology is not their enemy, first of all. So classical musician plus technology can be something flourishing, something beautiful, something that can really create something new. This is the first aim. And the second one is young people can kind of like it. For now, we are seeing that the results are nice because, for example, with the second project, the project of Bach, the four pianos and orchestra, the national television is doing a documentary about our project. They found that it was, wow, fantastic. And so we probably are going in the right direction. If you don't bring classical music to the people, it's impossible to bring the people in the theater. So let's make something more interesting. Recordings are really accessible. Until the last week, this studio was an analog kind of an analog studios. We have, you can see there, an analog console, and the Hear Back system was connected with the 6 aux stands of the console. I reserved the two outputs, one for the tollback and one for one send from the computer, from the DAW, which is Pro Tools. In the last days, we changed a lot because we passed from the studio version of Pro Tools to the Ultimate. So now we have an HDX card and an HDX converter, which is the Antelope Galaxy 64. The console will go away. And we will just have the Hear Back system directly connected to the Antelope. The first 8 outputs of the Antelope are the 7.1 system surround in the control room. And the second 8 outputs from 9 to 16 are used for the 8 cents to the Hear Back system. I have to have the tollback to talk to the musicians. So the last channel is connected to the Heritage Audio RAM that I use as the monitor controller system and as a tollback. When I moved here 4 years ago, I needed something different, something more powerful, of course, and something with a lot more signals, a lot more expandable possibilities. And that's exactly what I found. In the old system that I had until the last week, everything worked perfectly, and it was in one way. Now in just a few days, I've changed everything and it's totally different, but it works. So I can use it live, for example. So it has a lot of different possibilities I can use. And for me, this is really interesting because I'm trying to do is try to push technology to the limit for classical music, of course. And so I appreciate some gear that helps me to have a lot of possibilities about what I'm trying to do.